Hey, welcome back to Not Legal Advice. Quick update for City of Columbus, Ohio employers. And that's what today is. So, if you're an employer with employees within the City of Columbus, or you're located in the City of Columbus, then this is for you. So, November of this year, the City of Columbus did pass a new law, and it requires employers, when they are posting for new jobs, looking to hire employees, they have to identify salary ranges and pay scales for all those postings. They now have to provide a reasonable salary range or scale for potential employment. So it's got to be included now in those job postings, which kind of has two parts to it. Number one, employers are now going to have to figure out how do they make sure that their postings comply with the statute, and then two, whether the salary itself being advertised in that posting is reasonable under this new law. So the new law becomes effective January 1st, 2027, right? So we're early/mid-December. You got a couple of weeks if you're looking to hire folks in the new year to make sure you comply with this statute. But first, who does it apply to? Which employers, which companies? So first, it only applies to employers who have 15 or more employees within the territorial limits of the City of Columbus. So if you have 15 employees or less, if you have less than 15 employees, it doesn't hit you. But if you have 15 employees or more, it's going to apply to you so long as those 15 or more employees are within the territorial limits of the City of Columbus. Second, it applies only to employment postings that are looking for applicants within the geographical boundaries, again, of the City of Columbus. So if you're, posting for up in Cleveland, or you're posting down in Cincinnati, wouldn't apply to those postings, at least under this law. But if you are applying, or you're sending out, you're posting job openings in the City of Columbus, it's going to hit you. And then third, it hits you as an employer if those applications are posted, solicited, received, processed, and considered, again, within the City of Columbus. So I think pretty easy to identify if it applies to you if you're an employer within the city limits with 15 or more employees. If you are an employer outside the city limits, but you have employees within the city limits, or you are in multiple cities, definitely want to talk to your lawyer about what your obligations are under this new statute. So in addition to requiring you to include your salary ranges or pay scale within the posting, that salary range or pay scale also has to be reasonable. What does reasonable mean? Well, of course, it is not actually defined in the statute, which allows you as the employer some discretion in determining what a reasonable salary range or pay scale is going to be. But the law explicitly allows you to consider some of the following criteria. Obviously, your budget, right? The experience required to perform the job, the responsibilities required of the job, the opportunities for growth in and beyond the position you're advertising for, the cost of living of the City of Columbus, or really the locality in which any of those employees may work. So maybe this hits you, but for other reasons, but the employee is going to work outside the city. You could at least factor in the cost of living where they're going to live, and then also the salaries of comparable positions. What are folks being paid, at other companies, but similar positions? So not an exhaustive list, and you can certainly consider other factors, but just want to make sure that those are the general factors under the law that you should be considering as you determine that pay scale or salary that you're going to post in the posting itself. So what happens if you violate this? It does not necessarily trigger like a cause of action for people applying for these jobs. So it doesn't, they can't sue you for it in theory, right? I guess people can sue people for anything. But it does permit the person applying for the job to trigger an administrative investigation with the Columbus Communities Relations Commission. So the commission can or may then initiate an investigation into these allegations and they may choose to refer this matter to the city of Columbus for prosecution. And then, obviously there you're in a whole nother kind of ball of wax. So something definitely to be aware of, as far as what happens if you don't comply with the law. And we may see some changes to how that is prosecuted or how that is dealt with. It'll just matter, kind of see how it plays out. And then another question that often comes up is, how does this apply if you're using independent contractors versus employees? So first, understand that the delineation of whether a worker is an employee or an independent contractor is based upon a myriad of factors. So depending upon whether you're dealing with the IRS, Department of Labor, ODJFS, Bureau of Workers' Compensation, Unemployment Commission, something like that. They all have tests how they determine whether a worker should be an employee or should be classified as an independent contractor. So, this is going to hit employees, but if you are thinking maybe I can work around these requirements by making everybody an independent contractor, that can open you up to something called a misclassification audit. And in my opinion, much worse, much more expensive, much harder to deal with than just complying with the law to begin with. So, what makes a worker an employee versus what makes a worker an independent contractor is a little bit broader than this update video. And we'll talk about that at a different time, but would not use that as a strategy to try to avoid this law. I think, one, if it clearly hits you, comply with it. I think that's always a good rule. If it doesn't quite hit you or you're not sure, then you need to talk to a lawyer and figure out what your obligations are and whether it applies to you or not. We're always happy to help, so feel free, send a direct message or contact us, and we've got lawyers here who can walk you through it. But hopefully that's helpful. So again, if you are an employer in the city of Columbus, Ohio, and you've got employees in the city, just be aware that starting January 1st, these job postings need to comply. All right, thanks, bye.